Oh, wow. Joe Biden has cancer. Who would have saw that one coming?
That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
He said that in July of 2022, as of course the hallmarkers of a critical health event were all there, as we're getting some very disturbing, crazy information that I think is important to look at right now in hindsight, as I think there needs to be some subpoenas here, as I think this revelation is happening at this key time because of a conspiracy that's at foot here that probably stifles Donald Trump from being able to achieve something that he wanted to achieve. All of this, as of course, this is pretty big breaking news here. As, of course, there have been other people like Laura Loomer that have been reporting on this for quite a long time. And even though she's not always right, it looks like this time she was. And there are a lot of ramifications to this. We're going to be discussing this plus a lot more all in this video. So subscribe, click the notification button, as we have a lot of rabbit holes to go down when it comes to this particular news item that truly I do believe is deserving its own video, to talk about the context here that isn't talked about by the corporate media. The corporate media is like, oh no, how bad, how sad? I'm like, wait, hold on there. Hold on. As it looks like Joe Biden probably only has a few months to live. 6 at most. Some people say 2. Some people say a few weeks. We're going to see. But with the type of diagnosis that was just revealed here, it is very serious. And let's be honest with ourselves, the likelihood of Joe Biden losing his life soon is going to be probably very, if not almost certain here. Now, we are getting little tidbits here from the past, not only with, Biden declaring that he had cancer, but a lot of kind of peculiar behavior by some of his family members that led up to this, including last year, where his brother said that he looks forward to spending whatever time he has left with Joe Biden. And a lot of people are picking up the kind of tea leaves here. And I think one of the biggest tea leaves to kind of pick up and look at and examine here is the fact that Donald Trump was and still is trying to investigate and look into all of the pardons and all of the criminal behaviors that, of course, Joe Biden was involved in. As there's an argument that Joe Biden wasn't of sound mind, wasn't cognitively functional when he signed a lot of the pardons, therefore making them null and void, therefore allowing the Trump administration to go after individuals like his family members that clearly did violate the law, clearly did business associations with the Ukrainians, with the Chinese, and other people around the world, as there was a lot of money moving back and forth with the Bidens. The same Biden family that weaponized the Department of Justice, that literally had FBI agents going through the pantry drawer of Donald Trump's wife in his own personal home at Mar-a-Lago. That right there is something that Donald Trump wanted redemption for. And it looks like Donald Trump has been slowly and surely putting out little hints out there of particular actions. But right now, with this kind of news, with this kind of diagnoses, some people are saying, how do we know if it's even real? If we're going to, play this kind of conspiracy rabbit hole game, yeah, let's play it. I think there is a particular outcome here that could be, it's all fake, meant to, of course, give sympathy towards Joe Biden in order to prevent any kind of the very strong-handed litigious actions that Donald Trump would of course, take against them. As, of course, Joe Biden wasn't pardoned here. And there has been a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation that Donald Trump would go after Joe Biden, just like Joe Biden went after Donald Trump, his family members, his supporters, his lawyers, and anyone closely associated with him, as well as him, as Donald Trump was facing 700 plus years in a coordinated Democratic effort to try to throw him in jail forever. As Mike Benz has some interesting commentary here saying exactly, the DOJ used Biden's mental state as a shield not to charge him for the exact felony crimes, possession of classified documents, that they were actively charging Trump for. Now, we're saying, well, maybe as they were talking about his mental state, his health state, maybe the DOJ knew that he was suffering from some kind of sickness, and therefore they were saying, he doesn't have that much long to live. He's dealing with all these illnesses. the sicknesses, the ailments, the treatments, all of this is having an impact here. We're not going to charge him. Of course, the DOJ was heavily politicized here. And a lot of people are calling for the DOJ to be as politicized as they were under Joe Biden, but now they would go after the Democrats. But now this one key player definitely, again, whether the diagnosis is true or not, it definitely stops any kind of massive action, because it is going to be an optics nightmare to say, yeah, we're going to criminally charge this elderly dying guy. Yeah, that's not going to play well with the American public, especially now, especially with potentially taking back all of his pardons, going after his sons that are also dealing with, the diagnosis that their father won't be with them in a long time. And no matter what you might think about this man, there still deserves to be a little bit of sympathy here, even though there's some very weird karmic kind of like just crazy insanity here. As I confronted Joe Biden before about some other stuff, but the stuff that he did with a cancer charity before, now in hindsight and all of this, really, and I hate to say it this way, but really, it kind of looks like there's kind of like a full circle situation unfolding here. Before talking about Joe Biden's failed cancer charity, we wanted to tell you about wearechange.shop. As of course, a lot of people are getting sick. A lot of people are dealing with illnesses more than they ever have before. The human population is declining significantly, and that's why I took it upon myself to get on my own independent health journey. I was just out in my own little personalized gym, doing some crunches, doing some workouts, and I really do credit supplementation towards a lot of the health goals that I've been able to achieve. I was not in good health. I had 4 chins instead of 2. I always had 3 noses, but my goodness, I was not in a good healthy state before. I had some oysters earlier today. I feel revved up, zinc maxing, baby. As of course, the best thing you could do: exercise, diet, sleep, lack of stress. The next thing you could do, especially if you're neglecting some of those, because none of us are perfect, we all neglect, is get your hands on some supplements. We got some of the best supplements on the market. One of the best ones that I like is magnesium glycinate, is right here. I take it with my last meal of the day, and then I monitor my REM and deep sleep, and it always goes up when I take it. Again, that's just me personally. That might happen to you. It might not happen to you, but I calculate my sleep through my watch. I have this like bed that calculates it as well. And I'm super hyper paranoid about always making sure that my body gets the full rest it needs. And magnesium glycinate is the best way to achieve that. We got some good competitive prices for you there too, specifically with how much this stuff is usually charged on the market. But of course, if you're looking to boost athletic performance, improve the quality of your rest and recovery, which is everything, encourage a healthy nervous system. People's nervous systems are fried, especially with all the social media, especially with all the fear mongering, especially with all the insanity, like bam, 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 constantly induced with, never giving their nervous systems a break here. Magnesium glycinate helps your nervous system. Wearechange.shop. Get it. If you get it, you're going to use it. You're probably going to like it. Before taking anything into your body, speak to a medical professional. Do your own homework. Do your own research. I'm super paranoid about that. You should be too. As of course, now let's talk about what's going on with Joe Biden in a deeper kind of perspective here. As again, Donald Trump is specifically being investigated by Ed Martin, the DOJ's new pardon attorney, that said that he's launching an investigation into Biden's pardons. Now, can there be any legitimate action here? Maybe after Biden maybe passes away here, but right now it looks like a lot of the major political stunts and actions against Joe Biden for the goodwill and the optics here will be stopped here. As again, we have to understand here, this is something that the right has been screaming about for a very, very long time. We've been screaming about for a very long time, saying, this guy's not fit to be president of the United States. He has clear health problems. Look at him here, staring off into whatever he's staring off to in a totally lost way, where there are signs of mental and physical decline in a huge way. You compare him to how Donald Trump is acting, to how open to the press Donald Trump is, to how many press conferences, to how many press gaggles. Donald Trump literally does press gaggles 2 o'clock in the morning, flying back from a USC event in Air Force One, taking questions from the media and answering them back. You would never see anything like that from Joe Biden, that, of course, skirted the press and only did interviews when they were told what they could ask him, and they were giving cue cards of what to say exactly. Now, I think a lot of onus now should be on this White House doctor, Kevin O'Connor. He was Biden's official doctor, and he has been given Biden a clean bill of health. As a lot of people are saying, this guy was probably complicit in fraud to the presidency, and he lied to the American people. As now we have a lot of people saying, hey, it's kind of unheard of for Biden to have this advanced level of prostate cancer. Something that, of course, according to urologist Dr. Schusterman, says that it's unheard of. As, of course, this usually builds up for 5 to 10 years, as a lot of people are claiming that this is a full-on cover-up. Again, Joe Biden had full, extensive annual checkups, right? And then he was still given the clean bill of health here. I just don't get it. You just don't manifest this type of advanced prostate cancer. That again, it's terminal. It's infused into the bones now. This aggressive type of cancers, as a lot of people are saying. This was something that was in the works for 5 to 10 years here, even according to mainline doctors. This is what this doctor had to say.
It's very unlikely that someone could get annual checkups and not notice a PSA elevation over the past, but this is what I typically would see in a VA hospital, where a patient hasn't had medical attention in 10 years, presents to an emergency room with bone pain, and then they find that it's metastatic prostate cancer. But in the modern age of medicine, especially the fact that he was a former president, he had intensive state-of-the-art, care where we can see prostate cancer, 10 years in the past.
And you're telling me that Joe Biden didn't have this level of analysis, didn't have this type of medical professional when he was president of the United States? As of course, prostate cancer is a very slow growing cancer, and especially if it's found early, a lot of it is preventable as well. So what was going on here? As it's pretty clear, and I think there's an overwhelming amount of circumstantial evidence. There's no smoking gun, but I think there's overwhelming evidence here highlighting how this was something that was known before. This was covered up. As of course, he's diagnosed with stage 4 bone metastasis of the cancer. And it's something that doesn't happen within 4 months, okay? This is something that takes a long time, according to a lot of medical professionals that are coming out right now that are talking about this and saying, this just doesn't add up here. We have some interesting responses to this from a liberal, leftist, Democratic Congress woman who came out and talked about how this is horrible for Joe Biden. And then people online are reminding this person to get a routine prostate exam. I can't. I'm sorry. I think one thing is clear. I think this guy, Kevin O'Connor, needs to be subpoenaed. I agree with Benny Johnson here. And he has to ask, hey, are you just horrible at your job? Or are you just really that bad? Are you just awful at your job? Or did you cover this up? What was going on here? And I think that American people deserve the answer. Now, Dr. Drew here also came with the same assessment here, saying discovering this advanced disease does not pass the sniff test. Someone not receiving adequate or routine health care, this would make some sense, but does not fit to the level of medical supervision given to the President of the United States of America. And it's pretty clear here. And again, this is my own assessment, my own opinion here, and the opinion of a lot of other people. They knew. And the people who knew that he was dealing with a terminal, very serious illness, and they were still pushing and telling him to become president of the United States, still telling him to run are absolutely evil, ruthless people. I came out and I said Joe Biden is committing elder abuse on national television. And they prevented primaries because they didn't want RFK Jr. to win the primaries. They prevented individuals that would have potentially had a better run at things because they had such a control on the entire political system here. Now, again, I think it's pretty fair. Dr. Miss Doctor, oh, don't forget that in the moniker. Dr. Joe Biden, she probably knew. Let's be honest with ourselves. She probably knew. And if she did, and she's still pushing him to run for the president of the United States, that is absolutely evil and just ruthless behavior. As Tim Pool writes here, everyone knew as Joe Biden had weird things on his hands, showing probably what was experimental treatments that were being done here. He was experimented on. And let's be honest with ourselves. All of the major health issues, the trials, the tribulations that he was going through was an extremely difficult time here for him, physically, mentally, as the job of the president of the United States is a very, very tough job here. But again, all the hallmarkers were there that these guys knew. They knew it was happening. And a lot of the conspiracy theorists, once again, let's go on that chalkboard. Dude, we were right. The corporate media was wrong. As we had MSNBC saying he's in the best health of his life. Lying, scrupulous scumbags. There's a lot of hypocrisy here. This is kind of a weird story because I don't think we should ever celebrate someone getting sick or dying. I never did that ever on my channel here, even though there was horrible people with horrible track records. I do believe in not trying to play into this because it's not good to celebrate death and disease. So I don't think it's worth doing that. There's a lot of hypocrisy on the left here. And again, there's people making fun of Donald Trump for a scratched ear that are talking about how MAGA is just evil. No, I think we can still have a discussion without celebrating death. I think, there's some people saying, hey, some people are wishing him a full recovery, wishing him to be best here. I think the conversation should be about what in the world happened here. Like, hold on. What was going on here? How long did they know? And outside of the personal stuff. I mean, there's other people like DC Drano that are getting into the personal stuff, saying that Biden was, how do you say this on the YouTubes, fortifying the 2020 elections. He flooded the country with 10 million illegal aliens. He stacked the courts with leftist radicals. He coordinated 4 criminal indictments of his political opponents. He demoralized half the country as dangerous extremists and induced record inflation. I have never and never will refer to him as president of the United States, said DC Drano. Some people seem to forget that he is a career criminal who almost destroyed America. He also worked, the confrontation that I had with him was over Pakistani ISI intelligence meetings that with officials from that organization that directly wired money to the hijackers. And I said, well, how are you meeting with this guy the day before and the day after 9/11? You're literally meeting with the guy giving money to these hijackers. He's like, hey, Jack. And I should find that video and play it for you guys because I think that was an important video. But there's also tax filings that revealed that Joe Biden had a cancer charity. And they spent millions of dollars on charity, $0 on research. Yep. As people are saying that this is, and I hate to say it this way, but a lot of people were talking about how this was money laundering, how this was evil. And again, this world, even though sometimes you don't see it, even though sometimes you don't really kind of fully understand it, but it always has a way of coming. Things always have a way of just like circling back, especially with your juju, your energy, your what you do. And I think there's an argument to be potentially made here. Is this the right time to make this argument? No, I don't think it is. But examining this from the big kind of purview and the big kind of perspective here, taking a step back, regardless whether you like this man or not here, if the American people were being bamboozled and lied to, especially about someone who is critically ill, who shouldn't have been in the position of power where he has his finger on the button, making some of the most important, toughest, challenging, crazy calls in the face of this earth. Maybe I think we should know that in order to try to prevent it from ever happening ever again. It is tragic to deal with so many of these illnesses, diseases, record numbers. I mean, the guy, did also publicly, go take it, or you can't. We'll give you a cheeseburger and fries. That was Blasio. But he was like, go take it. Yeah, go take it. Yeah, it's great. There's also that. I'll save that for another discussion. A lot more to get into, all exclusively here on youtube.com/wearechanged. Subscribe. Get magnesium glycinate. Get yourself some good night's sleep. Stay tuned for more, all here. youtube.com/wearechanged.